Hello, this is Scott Bogren, Editor-in-Chief of Community Transportation Magazine and of DigitalCT, and I'd like to welcome you today to our summer edition of DigitalCT, an edition of our publication that focuses on urgent issues in community and public transportation. And the genesis of this edition really comes from the crisis sessions that we did at Expo in early June in Indianapolis, and those two sessions were focused on Medicaid, non-emergency transportation, and on transportation funding, and that really is the same pattern that we've built into this edition of DigitalCT. And before we get into kind of what's in the magazine, I want to talk a little bit about crisis and what that means right now in the field. And if you look for words synonymous with crisis, you find such words as calamitous or disastrous, and I'm not so sure that necessarily we're at that point, but we are reaching a point in both the transit funding issue and in the Medicaid issue where there are serious implications for some of the policy decisions that are being made, and implications that will have a direct impact on how you provide transportation services in your community. And we really wanted to focus this issue around providing resources and background information, highlighting partnerships that are dealing with these two crisis editions. And it's very important that that we look at this both through the prism of it being a crisis, but also where there are opportunities for change and for innovation and new ideas, new partnerships within these two pieces of framework that we're using for the edition. For the transit funding side, you will find in this edition an interesting article on innovative finance talking about America Fast Forward and how the Los Angeles mayor is proposing a new way to kind of finance large capital transit projects. And interestingly, it's a concept that has been embraced by the House, the Senate, and the administration. So it's one of the few ideas that you see that really spans all three bodies. As well, we have a good article on state investment levels, the historic partnership between states and localities and federal government in funding public and community transportation has often relied upon a very significant support from states. How is that support funded? How is it used? You'll see a lot of interesting information in that article. We look at the status of reauthorization. One, we kind of analyze, is it important to have one right now? And as such, where is it in the House, in the Senate, in the administration? And you'll see with a lot of links with some articles on those. We also provide highlights of some of the testimony that partners and potential partners are bringing up about the transit field right now. And lastly, if you want to kind of have a quantified look at the crisis in transit funding, we provide a map that our partners at Transportation for America maintain that highlights the service cuts, the funding reductions, and job losses that we've seen in transit around the country. And it's a sobering look, but it gives you an idea of what is the impact of this transit funding crisis and the urgency of that. There you'll see it. On the Medicaid side, Dale Marsico, our executive director, provides a commentary piece that kind of reframes and recrafts some of the Medicaid transportation issue and looks at it from a unique perspective of bringing Medicare into that. As well, we provide from the National Governors Association and the State Budget Officers Association a look at Medicaid and what states, since it is a state-administered program, what states are doing in the Medicaid arena. Some fascinating looks at some of the way they are reacting to the current enrollment and funding crisis in Medicaid. We also take a look at managed care, and we have an interesting article from Managed Care magazine that we share that looks at how will managed care impact Medicaid as a program, and then what does that tell us about where Medicaid non-emergency transportation is headed? The Affordable Care Act is another significant piece of legislation, certainly in the healthcare arena. We explain in this edition of the publication, in our first installment of our Manager's Corner, we explain what the Affordable Care Act, how it will impact community and public transportation systems. And we also provide an outstanding article by Steve Fatante from New Jersey, who looks at how his system and his county is dealing and living and managing within a brokered environment. And there's some good lessons in there about flexibility and about not holding on to the past, but looking at new ways of trying to provide transportation services and how within a brokered environment that can work. So as you can tell, this summer edition is just chock full of excellent articles and resources and links, and I do hope that you enjoy this urgent issues edition of DigitalCT magazine. And as always, I urge you to follow our Twitter feed at CTMag1. That is our Twitter handle, where we're always updating with the latest information. And if you need to talk to me directly, please email me at cteditor@ctaa.org. Again, thank you, and I hope you enjoy the magazine.